Hi, this is Regan Quinn reporting live on my very informative podcast. Today's topic is a very unique one, and it's about the amazing University of Virginia and how the students feel like UVA is its own little world, especially with the notion of the Honor Code. The Honor Code is a set of rules or ethical principles governing an academic community based on ideals that define what constitutes honorable behavior within that community. The use of an honor code depends on the notion that people can be trusted to act honorably. Those who are in violation of the honor code can be subject to various sanctions, including expulsion from the institution. Honor codes are used to deter academic dishonesty. Personally, I think the honor code is what makes UVA so unique. And to me, it's a set of standards that we should live by, and the university trusts all the students to follow it. I am describing UVA as its own world because, first, there's nowhere else in the country that can go by the honor code. Like everything in the real world would get stolen, everything would go wrong. And by hearing stories later in our show by our special guests, you'll know that UVA is such a unique place. Another example of why UVA is its own world is the very weird tradition of streaking the lawn. That is literally the most bizarre tradition ever, and I was so shocked when I first heard that it was a thing. But think in the real world, if you streak, especially at a widely known landmark, you'd be arrested in a second, but at UVA, everyone does it, and the ambassadors just say, get your clothes back on. I am still very shocked by this and didn't believe it was a thing until I saw it with my own eyes. This would definitely not fly in the real world and actually be looked at it as an offense, but in our little UVA planet, it is a very normal activity to take part in, which is very unique and actually very comical. Getting back on topic with the honor code, there are many groups on ground that act as rule enforcers or just to make people aware what the honor code is about. One club that I'm involved in is called SATCH. SATCH stands for Student Athletes Committed to the Honor Code. The club's goal is to reassure all sports teams at UVA of what the honor code is and all the consequences that can come if you break the honor code. You will hear more about this later in an interview with the president of the club, Chase Campbell. I have a pretty interesting experience with the honor code, and it was very cool to see that people actually abide by it. One day, in the beginning of the year, I left my bicycle at U-Haul, where our lacrosse locker room is, and I left it outside for 3 weeks, and I'd say about 2,000 people walked by it, and it was never moved an inch. That's why UVA is like so unique, and I don't think anywhere else in the country that would have it at. Here's my first guest, Ian, a first year, and he has an experience already with the honor code. Here's his story.
Yeah, so I was taking my first midterm, it was in my French class, and we have this book, it's called Contrast, and it has sort of all the grammar and everything in it. And when my teacher handed me the test, I had my book on the floor underneath my desk, and it was still open. And so while I was taking the test, my teacher thought I was referring to the notes that I had and essentially cheating. And I just forgot to close the book. I wasn't cheating. That was sort of a close call. I met with my teacher. We got it all sorted out, but that was sort of the first time I got in trouble with the honor system.
Here, for my next guest, is Jared Connors, a second year, and he's going to talk about how the honor code affects his everyday life at Virginia. Here he is.
Yeah, so coming to a state school, I was very afraid that I would have to lock all of my stuff up and watch out for others. But I mean, I live in the old dorms, or I used to live in the old dorms when I was a freshman, and I mean, I left my door open every day. I mean, unlocked. I even left it open when I would go to D-Hall and people could see all this stuff sitting on my desk. I would leave money. I'd leave my camera, my computer. Nobody would ever touch it. And that was such an amazing thing that I would not have expected coming into it, especially a state school with 16,000 undergraduate students. And I'm really happy that we have this sort of honor code where everybody trusts everybody else. I mean, that's really just amazing.
Our last guest here today is Chase Campbell, fourth year. He's the president of the club SATCH, and he wants to tell a little bit about it.
Hey, what's going on? Thanks for having me on, Regan. I'm the president of SATCH, which is the Student Athletes Committed to Honor. And so we represent a link between the honor committee and the honor system here at UVA and the student athlete population. And so our job is basically to inform student athletes of kind of the latest goings on with the honor system in terms of like, you know, voting on new measures, as well as just kind of the basics of things like the informed retraction, the conscientious retraction, and just sort of like do's and don'ts of exam season, of homeworks, of plagiarism, of like, you know, every little academic part of UVA, and especially things that relate to honor, because the student athlete population often gets in trouble a disproportionate amount of the time compared to the regular population. So basically our job is to inform student athletes whenever we can and serve as a resource for them.
Thank you, Chase.